Hi everyone, we're nearly there. It's the middle of the week. We've got a few more lessons to go, but you have done brilliantly, and I would like to say thank you again for tuning in, watching these videos, and doing the work. You have been amazing. Today we're going to do something similar to what we did yesterday, with a focus on decimals. So a few questions to revise on our decimal understanding, then you're going to create a revision sheet, again as a guide for yourselves for when you start to look at decimal work in year 6. And we've done quite a lot of work on decimals, as we have fractions and percentages. So today you have got a range of different questions. Let's just think about what we have done in terms of adding decimal work. We've done things like adding and subtracting decimals, dividing and multiplying by 10, 100 and 1,000 involving decimals. We've done decimals linked to fractions. We've looked at ordering decimals. We've done a whole range of different work. If you can't remember, go back and have a look on the YouTube channel of all the decimal lessons that I did for you, going back a couple of weeks, a couple of months now. There's loads there. We started with the 100 square and we built all our learning from that. That'll help you today devise your revision sheet. So a couple of questions you're going to get today that we can just go over. So adding and subtracting decimals with a different number of decimal places. So for example, 3.4 subtract 2.59. So this different number of decimal places, i.e. the different number of digits after the decimal point. Remember, the decimal points always go one under the other, under the other. Once you've written your decimal points in, you can write your numbers around your decimal points. So 3.4, we're doing a subtraction, 2.59. I put my decimal point in there for my answer already, so I don't forget it. Any blank columns, we said we can just put the place value holder of 0 in there. 0 take away 9, I've got to do an exchange. 10 take away 9 would be 1. 3/10 take away 5/10, got to do another exchange in the ones column this time. That becomes a 2. 13/10 take away 5/10 would be 8/10. And then 2 ones take away 2 ones would give me 0 ones. So in total my answer would be 0.81. If I was writing that as a fraction, well, I could partition it. I've got 8/10 and 1/100. So you could put this on your revision sheet, just remembering your place value heading. So 8/10 and 1/100. And then in total, that would be 81/100. Think about that 100 square again. If each 1 square is worth 1/100th, 8 rows of 10 or 8 columns of 10 shaded in, and then 1 further additional square would mean you would have 81 of your 100 squares written or coloured in, should I say, and that would be how you'd write it as a fraction. So there's that to do. You could also put on your revision sheet a little bit of multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1,000. Again, we've gone over this quite a lot. Now you're probably pretty confident, or you definitely should be pretty confident with multiplying and dividing by 10. So we talked about using the number of zeros to help us. On your little revision sheet, you might draw yourself out a little place value grid. We talked about having that kind of picture in your head of the place value columns, and always just writing yourself one out in a test or whenever you're posed with a challenge of dividing or multiplying by 10, 100 and 1,000, drawing it out, draw yourself a little place value grid out, and then multiplying by these, you obviously move to the left and making the number bigger. Dividing by these, you move your digits to the right, making them smaller. So that's something else. I think you've got a question on that today in your revision questions before you start your revision sheet. Ordering decimals, I think I talked about that. We've had a lesson on ordering decimals, comparing decimals. I think we've had a lesson on that as well. So again, go back, have a look at the old videos that we've done, and find your your ideas from them videos for your revision sheet. So once you've done the questions today, these are a couple of them, the first few of them, so a little bit of adding in there, there's some subtracting later on, there's a little bit of number line work, there is a little bit of divided by 10 there I can see, and there's lots more on your questions today. The mark sheets at the end, so you can mark your work as soon as you finish. Hopefully you're scoring full marks or nearly full marks. And then once you've done that, you can have a go at creating your own revision sheets. Again, send them in so we can tweak them, and you can then use them more importantly come September when you get into year 6. So focus on decimals. You might link to fractions and link to percentages, but focus on decimals today, adding and subtracting, comparing, ordering, divided by 10, multiplying by 10, 100 and 1,000 as well. Focus on that. Tomorrow we're going to do the same with percentages, and then hopefully by the end of the week you'll have a nice set of revision sheets that you can then whip out in September and impress your new teacher with your fantastic knowledge, having looked at these revision sheets once more. Have an absolutely brilliant day, guys. We've got 2 more days after this to get through, and then it's the summer holidays. Woohoo! See you tomorrow.